My name is Sarah, and at 32 years old, I thought I had everything under control. I work as a graphic designer at a mid-sized company, live alone in an apartment I decorated with great care, and always considered myself a sociable person. That's why when I decided to throw a party to celebrate my 32nd birthday, I was sure it would be unforgettable. I spent weeks planning every detail. I chose an elegant theme, bought expensive decorations, ordered a 3-tier cake, and prepared a menu that could rival any restaurant. I sent personalized invitations to 40 people, friends from work, college, neighbors, and even some acquaintances from social media. What I didn't know was that this party would indeed be unforgettable, but for completely wrong reasons. The day before the party, I was euphoric. I spent the entire day tidying up the apartment, organizing the appetizer table, and testing the playlist I had created especially for the occasion. Everything was perfect. The ambient lighting, fresh flowers, even the scent of perfumed candles filled the air. I called my best friend, Emma, to confirm if she would come early to help me with the final details. "Hi, Em. Just confirming if you're coming at 7, as we agreed." On the other end of the line, a strange silence. Sarah ... about. That ... something unexpected came up at home. "I don't think I'll be able to make it." My heart raced. "What do you mean? You're my best friend. You can't miss it." "Sorry, it's just that ... Look, we'll talk later, okay?" She hung up before I could protest. I tried not to worry about Emma's phone call. After all, 39 other people would come. I spent the night checking and rechecking every detail, and when I finally went to sleep at 32 years incomplete, I still had hope it would be the best party of my life. The next day, I woke up excited. It was my birthday. I took a relaxing bath, did my nails, chose a beautiful dress I had bought especially for the occasion. At 5 in the afternoon, I was completely ready and prepared to receive my guests. The party was scheduled to start at 8. At 7:30, I put on the music, lit the candles, and waited for the first guest to arrive. 8 o'clock, nobody. 8-15, nothing. At 8:30, I started to really worrying. 9 o'clock at night. My apartment was silent, only with the sound of music playing for no one. I started sending WhatsApp messages, trying to find out where everyone was. "Hey guys, the party has started. Where are you?" The responses began to arrive, each more evasive than the last. "Oh, sorry, Sarah. I completely forgot. I already have plans." "What party? I didn't receive an invitation. Something urgent came up here. I won't be able to make it. I'm not feeling well today. Double quotes lies. All blatant lies. At 10 o'clock, reality hit me like a punch in the stomach. Nobody would come. Not a single person had shown up to celebrate my 32 years of life. I sat on the couch, still in my party dress, surrounded by all that decoration that now seemed to mock me. I picked up my phone and, on impulse, opened Instagram. That's when I saw Emma, my supposedly best friend, had posted a photo 2 hours ago. She was at a party with at least 15 people I had invited to my celebration. The caption read, "Perfect night with friends." My breathing became labored. I clicked on the location. It was at Mike's house, my work colleague, Mike, who had also received my invitation and given me a lame excuse. I started stalking the other people. One by one, I discovered that at least 20 of my guests were at the same party. The party that happened on the same day and time as mine. The party I wasn't invited to. Tears began to stream down my face, smudging the makeup I had done so carefully. It wasn't just the fact that nobody came. It was the discovery that people I considered friends had deliberately chosen another party instead of mine. Worse still, they had lied to me. I started reviewing all relationships in my head. When was the last time someone invited me to something? When was the last time someone showed genuine interest in me, without professional interest? The answer was frightening. I couldn't remember. At 32 years old, I discovered I was completely alone in the world. and I had been the last to know it. I sat on that couch until 2 in the morning, looking at all that food nobody would eat at. Decorations nobody would admire at the 3-tier cake only I would see. That's when I made a decision that would change my life forever. I got up, went to my room, and started packing. If nobody cared about me in this city, if nobody would miss me, then it was time to start over. Completely. I turned on the computer and started searching for plane tickets. It didn't matter where, I just wanted to go far away from there. I found a ticket to Denver, leaving the next day. I had no specific reason for choosing this city. It just seemed far enough from my current reality. I spent the rest of the early morning organizing my life. I wrote an email requesting resignation, which I scheduled to be sent on Monday. I called the real estate agency, leaving a message about terminating the apartment lease. I made a list of everything I needed to resolve before leaving. When the sun rose on my 32nd birthday, I already had my entire life organized into suitcases. I took a slice of birthday cake and ate it alone, making a wish. May my new life be better than this one. The flight to Denver was quiet. I was emotionally exhausted, but I also felt a strange sense of freedom. For the first time in years, nobody knew where I was or what I was doing. I arrived in the city without knowing anyone, without having anywhere to stay. Just with $2,000 in my account and 2 suitcases, I took a taxi to downtown and checked into the first hotel I saw. Sitting in the hotel room, alone, I started questioning if I hadn't gone crazy. Leaving everything because of one failed party seemed too extreme. But then I remembered Emma's photo, the lies, the feeling of being invisible in my own life. No, I hadn't gone crazy. I had woken up. In the first days in Denver, I just explored the city and tried to process everything that had happened. I walked the streets, observed people, ate in restaurants alone, something that would have embarrassed me before, but now seemed natural. On the 3rd day, I received a flood of WhatsApp messages. People from my old city had finally noticed my absence. Emma, Sarah, where are you? Nobody can find you. Mike, Sarah, you didn't come to work today. Is everything okay? My mom, honey, your neighbor said she hasn't seen you for days. I'm worried. It was ironic. When I was there, nobody cared. Now that I had disappeared, everyone wanted to know where I was. Deciding not to respond to messages was harder than I expected. Especially my mom's, who started calling insistently. I finally answered, Sarah. Thank God. Where are you? I'm desperate. I'm fine, Mom. I just needed some time. But what time? You disappeared. Emma came here looking for you, said you two fought. What happened? Interesting how Emma had distorted the situation. We hadn't fought. She had simply abandoned me on my birthday to go to another party. We didn't fight, Mom. I just discovered who my real friends are. Honey, come home. We can talk about this. This is my decision. I need to do this. After a week in Denver, my money was running out. I needed to find work and a place to live urgently. I started looking for jobs in my field. To my surprise, I got an interview at a small but promising advertising agency. The agency owner, a man about 45 years old named David, received me with curiosity. Your portfolio is excellent, Sarah, but tell me, what brought you to Denver? It's not common for someone to move here without having contacts in the city. I decided to be honest. I needed to start over. Sometimes life forces us to make drastic decisions. He smiled. I understand perfectly. I've been through that too. To my surprise, David hired me on the spot. The agency was small, but the environment was completely different from my old job. People talked to each other, made plans together, seemed genuinely interested in one another. On the first day, a colleague named Lisa invited me to lunch. Is it your first day in the city too? She asked. Double quotes, yes. I moved just over a week ago. Wow. How brave. I wouldn't have the courage to leave everything and start over alone. For the first time in weeks, I smiled genuinely. Sometimes courage comes from desperation. Lisa laughed. Best definition I've ever heard. With work resolved, I managed to rent a small but cozy apartment. Gradually, I began to establish myself in the city. Lisa became a real friend. Unlike Emma, she showed genuine interest in me, included me in her plans, and introduced me to other people. You seem much lighter than when you arrived here, she commented one day while we were having coffee. It's because I am, I replied. I think I spent years pretending to be happy in my previous life, and now I'm discovering who I really am when I'm not trying to please people who don't care about me. 2 months after my escape, I received a call from an unknown number, Sarah. This is Dr. Johnson, your father's lawyer. My heart raced. My parents had been divorced for years and I barely had contact with my father. Did something happen? I'm sorry to inform you, but your father passed away last week. Heart attack. We've been trying to locate you for days. The news hit me like lightning. Even with our distant relationship, his death affected me deeply. There are inheritance matters we need to resolve. Could you come here next week? It was the first time in 2 months I would have to return to my hometown. The trip back was strange. As the plane approached the city I had left, I felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity. What would it be like to be there again? My mother was waiting for me at the airport, and when she saw me, she started crying. Honey, how different you look. It was true. I had lost weight, my hair was shorter, and I dressed more casually. But the main change wasn't physical, it was internal. You look good, Mom. It's just that ... I'm good with myself for the first time in years. During the trip to the hotel where I stayed, I refused to stay at my mother's house. She told me about the repercussion of my disappearance. Emma was desperate, said she feels guilty about something. She should feel guilty. The next day, while I was resolving estate matters, Emma appeared at the lawyer's office. Sarah. Finally, she tried to hug me, but I dodged. We need to talk. She said, there's so much you don't know ... I know more than you think, Emma, about Mike's party. Sarah, you don't understand ... double quotes. I understand perfectly. You all decided it was better to go to another party instead of mine. You lied to me and left me alone on my birthday. It wasn't like that. Mike only organized that party because ... because he wanted to surprise you. It was supposed to be a surprise party for you. Emma's words left me speechless. What do you mean, surprise party for me? Mike has been in love with you for months. He found out about your party and organized a surprise at his house. Everyone knew. That's why nobody went to your party. We were all going to pick you up together at 10 o'clock. My mind began processing the information. Slowly, but ... why didn't anyone tell me anything? Because it was a surprise. Mike wanted to ask you to be his girlfriend at the party. We had planned everything. And why didn't you call me when you saw I wasn't home? Emma lowered her head. We called, but your phone was off. We went to your building, but the doorman said you had left with suitcases. I felt the world spinning around me. Everything I had interpreted as betrayal was actually a gesture of love and friendship. Sarah, when we discovered you had disappeared, Mike was desperate. He blames himself for everything. Said he should have told you his plans earlier. Where is he now? Still lives here. Never got over what happened. Always says it was his fault you left. I spent the rest of the day trying to process this information. My entire new life had been built on top of a devastating misunderstanding. But did that change anything? I met Mike at a cafe we used to frequent. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. Sarah ... I'm so sorry ... Mike. Emma told me about the surprise party. It was the worst idea of my life. I should have been honest with you from the beginning. I observed the man in front of me. He was thinner, with deep dark circles. He had clearly suffered as much as I had. Why didn't you ever tell me you were interested in me? Because you always seemed so ... distant. I thought I didn't have a chance. The surprise party was my way of finally showing my feelings, and now. He smiled sadly. Now you have a new life. And I learned that some opportunities don't come back. I returned to Denver with my head more confused than ever. Lisa noticed my state and insisted I tell her everything. So you discovered it was all a misunderstanding. She summarized after hearing the whole story. Exactly. And now, are you going back? I don't know. On one hand, I discovered I wasn't as alone as I thought. On the other hand, my life here is good. I have you. I have a job I love. Sarah. Can I give you some advice? Sure. Don't make decisions based only on what you discovered about the past. Think about what you want for your future. I spent weeks analyzing my situation. In Denver, I had discovered who I really was. I had developed confidence, made genuine friendships, and found work that fulfilled me. But was all this built on a lie? Had I run away from a situation that didn't exist? One day, I was walking through the city when my phone rang. It was Mike. Sarah, I know you don't owe me anything, but I need to tell you something. What is it? I asked Emma to be my girlfriend. The news hit me like a bucket of cold water. Even though I wasn't expecting it, you. You got together, yes. During these months you were away, we got closer. She helped me overcome the guilt. And I. Well, I ended up falling in love with her too. I hung up the phone with conflicted feelings. On one hand, I felt a pang of jealousy. On the other, I realized this was confirmation that I had made the right decision. If Mike had managed to fall in love with Emma in just 3 months, his feelings for me weren't as deep as I had imagined. Besides, if Emma had accepted dating him, knowing the whole situation, our friendship also wasn't as solid as I thought. For the first time since the surprise party revelation, I felt peace with my choices. 3 weeks after Mike's call, I met Gabriel at an art exhibition. He was a photographer, 35 years old, with a smile that lit up any room. Unlike all my previous relationships, with Gabriel everything flowed naturally. I didn't need to pretend to be someone I wasn't, didn't need to struggle to keep his attention. You have a different energy, he told me during our 3rd date. You seem like someone who really knows who they are. I learned that recently, I replied. How so? I told him my whole story, the party, the escape, the discoveries. He listened without judgment. You know what impresses me most about your story? He said at the end. What? The courage you had to start from scratch. Many people spend their whole lives pretending to be happy. 6 months after my arrival in Denver, I received a promotion at work. David offered me a partnership in the agency. Sarah, you transformed this place. Your projects are innovative. You brought important clients. And more than that, you transformed the work environment. How so? You have an authenticity that's contagious to everyone. People feel comfortable being themselves when you're around. It was ironic. For years, I had tried to please people by pretending to be who I wasn't. Now, being completely authentic. I was achieving professional and personal success like never before. When my 33rd birthday approached, I felt a mix of expectation and anxiety. It would be my first birthday in Denver, the first since that night that changed my life. Lisa insisted on organizing a celebration. Nothing too big, she said. Just the special people. I don't know if I'm ready for a party. Sarah, you can't let one bad experience prevent you from celebrating your life. Besides, now you have people who really care about you. She was right. Gabriel, Lisa, my coworkers, they had all become important people in my life. My 33rd birthday party happened on the rooftop of the building where I live. Lisa and Gabriel organized everything with care, simple but elegant decoration, music I really liked, foods that were my favorites. When I arrived on the rooftop and saw 15 people waiting for me, all genuinely smiling, all there because they wanted to be, I felt tears streaming down my face. Why are you crying? Gabriel asked, hugging me, because last year nobody came to my party. And today, Today, I'm sure all these people are here because they like me for real. And how does that make you feel? Complete. In the middle of the party, my phone rang. It was Emma. I hesitated to answer, but Gabriel encouraged me. Sarah. Happy birthday. Thank you, Emma. I know you must be celebrating there. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for everything that happened last year. And that. Well, Mike and I are engaged. Congratulations to you both. You're not angry. I looked around, seeing all those people who had become my chosen family. No, Emma. Actually, I'm grateful. If that party had worked out, I would never have discovered who I really am. 2 hours after Emma's call, Gabriel asked for everyone's attention. Guys, can I interrupt for a minute? Everyone stopped to listen. Sarah, 6 months ago you entered my life like a hurricane. You showed me what it means to live authentically, love without reservations, and have the courage to start over. My heart started beating faster. I know it might be too early, and I know you've had bad experiences with surprises. He took out a small box from his pocket and knelt down. But Sarah, I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me? The rooftop fell into absolute silence. All the people I loved most in the world were there, waiting for my answer. I remembered. The Sarah from a year ago, insecure, trying to please people who didn't care about her, pretending to be happy. Then I thought about today's Sarah, confident, authentic, surrounded by true love. Gabriel, I began. A year ago, nobody came to my birthday party. I thought it was because I wasn't important to anyone. He remained kneeling, waiting. Today, I know it wasn't that I wasn't important. It's that I was trying to be important to the wrong people. I smiled, looking into his eyes. Yes, I accept marrying you. The following months were a whirlwind of planning. Unlike my failed birthday party, the wedding was being organized with people who really cared about us. Lisa became my maid of honor and official organizer of everything. Sarah, do you want to invite anyone from your hometown? She asked one day. My mother, of course. But otherwise, I don't know. What about Emma? Weren't you best friends? We were. But sometimes people are part of phases of our lives, not our entire lives. And are you at peace with that? Completely. My mother came to Denver 2 weeks before the wedding. It was the first time she visited my new city. Honey, you're unrecognizable, she said as soon as she saw me, in a good way. In the best possible way. You seem fulfilled. During the week she stayed, I introduced my new life to her, my friends, my work, my routine. Gabriel completely won over my mother. He looks at you like you're the most important person in the world, she told me, because to him, I am, and to you, is he, Mom. For the first time in my life, I'm in a relationship where I don't need to pretend to be anyone other than myself. The wedding took place in a small but beautiful garden, overlooking the sunset. There were only 30 guests, people who were really part of our lives. When I walked to the altar and saw Gabriel waiting for me, with that smile that won me from the first day, I felt I was exactly where I should be. The officiant asked us to make our personal vows. Gabriel, I began. You found me when I was rebuilding my life from the pieces. You showed me I didn't need to be perfect to be loved. I promised to be your life companion, to always be authentic, and to love you exactly as you are. Gabriel took my hands and began his vows. Sarah, when I met you, you told me you had learned to be who you really were. But you didn't know that by being yourself. You taught me to be myself too. His words touched me deeply. You had the courage to leave an entire life behind and start from scratch. That courage inspires me every day. I promise to support you in all your decisions, love you in all your moments, and build an authentic life by your side. You may kiss, said the officiant, and when we kissed, I felt all the pieces of my life finally fit together. On our honeymoon, Gabriel and I were lying on the beach, watching the stars. Sarah, can I ask you a question? Sure. Do you ever regret leaving your previous life behind? I thought carefully before answering. For a long time I thought I had reacted excessively. That I had thrown away relationships and opportunities because of a misunderstanding. And now I understand it wasn't a misunderstanding that made me leave there. It was discovering that I was living a life that wasn't mine. People may have had good intentions, but I was being false to myself for years. How so? I pretended to like things I didn't like, went to places I didn't want to be, maintained superficial relationships because I was afraid of being alone. The party was just the trigger. Gabriel pulled me closer. And if you hadn't made that drastic decision, I would probably be marrying Mike out of convenience, pretending to be happy, still surrounded by people who didn't really know me. 1 year after the wedding, Gabriel and I were preparing a special celebration, the first anniversary of our agency. Yes, he had become my business partner too. Sarah, an interesting invitation came today, he said, showing me an elegant envelope. It was a wedding invitation. Mike and Emma were getting married. They invited you. Seems so. What do you think? I looked at the invitation, thinking about the whole story that brought us here. I think I'll send a gift and a card wishing them happiness, but I won't go. Why? Not because some pages of our lives need to stay in the past so we can write the next ones. 2 months later, while organizing our documents for a trip, I found an old folder with photos from my failed birthday party. Gabriel saw them by chance. Wow, you kept the photos from that day? I didn't even remember I had kept them. We looked at the photos together, me, alone, with all that perfect and empty scenery in the background. You know what I see in these photos? Gabriel asked, a pathetic woman celebrating alone. No, I see a brave woman who didn't know yet, but was about to make the best decision of her life. I smiled, looking at the images with different eyes. Asterisk, you know what? I think I'll frame one of these, really, to remember where I came from and how I got here. 3 years after my move to Denver, I was at a design conference in Chicago when I bumped into someone familiar. Mike. Sarah, what a coincidence. Hi. Mike, how are you? Good, married, working a lot. And you, I heard you got married too. It's true. I'm very happy. We talked for a few minutes. He seemed genuinely well, more mature and confident. Sarah, can I tell you something? Sure. When you disappeared that day, I was devastated, but over time, I realized it might have been better that way. Why? Because I was in love with the idea of you, not who you really were. Emma really knows me, and I know her. I think it wouldn't have worked out between us. The conversation with Mike left me thoughtful. On the flight back to Denver, I reflected on his words. He was right. For years, I had created a version of myself that I thought people would like more. And people fell in love with that false version. Gabriel was waiting for me at the airport. How was the conference? Productive. And I ran into Mike. I told him about our conversation while we went home. How did you feel? Asterisk free. For the first time, I felt neither anger nor hurt nor nostalgia. Just ... peace. Is that good? It's great. It means I've finally completely overcome that phase of my life. A few weeks later, I received news that would change our lives again. I was pregnant. Gabriel was euphoric. Sarah? We're going to be parents. I'm nervous. I admitted. What if I don't know how to be a mother? You're going to be an incredible mother. You know why? Why? Because you're going to teach our child to be authentic, like you learned to be. The pregnancy was smooth, and during those months, I began thinking about what kind of legacy I wanted to leave for my child. Our daughter was born on a sunny spring morning. Sophia, we chose this name because it means wisdom. When I saw her, for the first time, I felt overwhelming love and enormous responsibility. Hi, my little one, I whispered. I promise to teach you to never pretend to be someone you're not. Gabriel was beside me, also emotional. She's perfect. She is, and she. Grow up knowing she's loved exactly as she is. With Sophia in our lives, I began to see everything from a new perspective. Motherhood brought me a maturity I didn't know I needed. One day, organizing her room, I found again that framed photo of my solitary party. Sophia was in my lap, observing everything with her curious little eyes. Asterisk, see this photo, Sophia? This is Mommy a few years ago. She was very sad because nobody came to her party. Gabriel approached. Are you still going to tell her this story? I am, but not as a sad story, as a story of courage. How so? I'm going to tell her how sometimes we need to have the courage to leave behind what doesn't serve us, even when it hurts, to find what really matters. When Sophia turned 1, I decided to take a trip with her and Gabriel to my hometown. It was time to introduce my daughter to my mother. During our stay, I passed by the building where I used to live. The doorman was still the same. Miss Sarah, long time no see. I heard you got married and had a daughter. It's true, Mr. Johnson. You were right to leave here. Sometimes we need to change our environment to grow. His words surprised me. You think so? I'm sure. You always seem nervous, always running after something. Now you seem at peace. On impulse, I decided to visit Emma. She lived a few streets from where I used to live. When she opened the door, she was shocked to see me, Sarah. What a surprise. Hi, Emma. This is my daughter, Sophia. She's beautiful. Come in, please. Her house was lovely, and there were photos of her wedding with Mike everywhere. You seem happy, I commented sincerely. We are, Sarah. I need to apologize to you again. Emma, you don't need to. Actually, I came here to thank you. Thank me. If you hadn't left me alone that day, I would never have discovered I needed to change my life. We talked for 2 hours. Emma told me about her life with Mike, about the plans they had. I told her about Denver, about Gabriel, about how my life had transformed. You know, she said, I always wondered if I did the right thing accepting to date Mike. Why? Because he was in love with you first. Emma, can I tell you something? Mike was right when he said he was in love with the idea of me, not who I really was. You know each other for real. That's much more valuable. When I left Emma's house, I felt a circle had definitely closed. Asterisk, back in Denver, Gabriel noticed a change in me. How was it seeing all that again? Liberating. For the first time, I could see that period of my life without resentment or sadness. And how do you see it now? As a necessary prologue, I needed to go through all that to get here. Sophia babbled something from her crib, as if agreeing. You know what impresses me most? I continued. What? How a decision that seemed drastic and impulsive at the time turned out to be the most correct of my life. At 35 years old, our agency had become one of the most respected in the city. We won several awards, and I became a reference in the field. In an interview for a specialized magazine, the journalist asked me about my secret to success. Authenticity, I replied without hesitation. How so? For years, I tried to be who I thought people wanted me to be. When I finally had the courage to be myself, everything changed. Does this apply to work too? Especially to work. When you're authentic, your projects have soul, and people feel that. Sophia was already 2 years old when she asked me a question that caught me off guard. Mommy, why do you have that sad picture on the wall? She was referring to the photo of the solitary party. I picked her up and sat in front of the photo. Sophia, this isn't a sad photo. It's a photo of courage. How so, Mommy? Sometimes, my little one, life puts us in difficult situations to teach us important things. On that day, Mommy learned it's better to be alone being who you are than surrounded by people pretending to be someone else. And then Mommy found Daddy and you and all our real friends at 36 years old. I decided to write a book about my experience. I wanted to share with other people who might be going through the same situation I went through. The title would be, The Party Nobody Came To. How One Terrible Night Changed My Life Forever. Gabriel fully supported the idea. Sarah, your story can help a lot of people. Do you really think so? I'm sure. How many people live pretending to be happy, afraid of being alone? Writing the book was a cathartic process. Reliving each moment, each emotion, each discovery made me realize how much I had grown. The book became a bestseller. I received hundreds of messages from people who identified with my story. One of them particularly touched me. "Sarah, I read your book and cried from beginning to end." I've been in a relationship that doesn't make me happy for years, with friends who only look for me when they need something, in a job that doesn't fulfill me. Your book gave me the courage to change. Thank you for sharing your story. I realized that my painful experience had transformed into a tool of transformation for other people. Today, at 37 years old, I look back and clearly see how each piece of my life's puzzle fit together perfectly. The birthday party that nobody came to wasn't a tragedy, it was a disguised gift. Gabriel and I have a beautiful life together. Sophia is 4 years old and is a confident, authentic, and happy child, everything I wasn't in childhood. Our agency prospers, my book continues helping people, and I finally understand what it means to live a full life. Sometimes, when Sophia is sleeping, Gabriel and I sit on our terrace, looking at the stars, and he asks me, "Would you change anything if you could go back in time?" And my answer is always the same, not a second. Because every painful moment, every disappointment, every tear brought me here. And here is exactly where I always should have been. The drastic decision I made that birthday night 5 years ago wasn't an impulse. It was my soul screaming that I deserved more, and it was right. Today I know that sometimes you need to lose everything to find yourself. You need to be alone to discover who really cares about you. You need to have the courage to let go of what doesn't serve you, even when it hurts. My 32nd birthday party was a failure, but it was the most important failure of my life because it was what brought me to my real life. Asterisk.